It starts with an empty table. No potatoes, no tomatoes, no chocolate, no coffee. Now imagine being told you have to cook dinner. That was life in England in the early 1600s, a world before the Columbian Exchange reshaped every meal we know. People gathered around fires, not ovens. Meals were built from barley, peas, and herbs you could find within walking distance. Yet, somehow, that world created food so rich in flavor that modern chefs are trying to bring it back. Tonight, we're stepping into that smoky kitchen to taste the forgotten recipes of the 17th century. The year is 1620. London smells of wood smoke, beer, and the river. Inside a timber-framed house, a cook named Margaret is stirring a pot that could feed 10. The room glows orange from the hearth. Iron hooks dangle pots at different heights to control heat. There's no clock, only instinct, and the hiss of boiling broth. She drops in a handful of something that looks like oatmeal but smells faintly sweet. It's skirret, a root vegetable with a taste somewhere between carrot and parsnip. Around her are baskets of barley flour, leeks, and dried peas. This was the backbone of English cooking. Hearty, simple, designed to fill you for a day of labor. What's missing is everything we take for granted. No potatoes. They were still suspicious, considered foreign and earthy. No tomatoes. They were rumored to be poisonous. And sugar? A luxury only the elite could afford, locked away like treasure. Food in the 1600s wasn't just about taste. It was about class. The wealthy dined on imported spices, sugar, and citrus. The poor survived on pottage, a thick stew that never left the fire, topped up each day with whatever the garden or market could spare. But here's the twist. That slow-cooked, endlessly reused stew produced deep, layered flavors modern kitchens struggle to replicate. The constant reheating caramelized the grains and softened the herbs into something remarkable. In the right hands, poverty created flavor. Every dish told a story of trade and superstition. Nutmeg and cloves arrived on ships guarded like gold. Parsley was thought to invite death if cut wrong. And eel pie was served to bring good luck. Recipes weren't written for taste. They were written for medicine. Cooks talked about hot and cold foods, dry and moist, balancing the body's humors. Eat too much beef, and you might become melancholic. Too many pears, and you risked a cold stomach. Yet even under this strange logic, people discovered techniques that still dominate our kitchens: fermentation, slow roasting, herbal seasoning. They learned by feel, not by rulebook. Let's build a meal exactly as Margaret might have done. First, the pottage. Barley simmered in ale with onions, leeks, and a dash of vinegar for sharpness. She adds dried peas for protein and a single slice of salt pork if she's lucky. Next, manchet bread, a soft white loaf made from the finest sifted flour, reserved for Sundays or guests. The dough is heavy, kneaded by hand for nearly an hour. When baked, it's dense, chewy, almost sweet from the malted grain. Finally, a dessert of marchpane. Ground almonds mixed with honey and rose water, shaped into hearts and baked until pale gold. It's delicate, fragrant, a rare luxury that smells like a garden in bloom. The meal is humble and royal at once, but beneath the warmth of the hearth lurks something darker. In 1666, the Great Fire of London sweeps through the city, destroying thousands of homes, and with them, thousands of handwritten recipe books. Each kitchen lost meant another culinary language erased. When the smoke cleared, food changed forever. Imports from the New World flooded in: potatoes, tomatoes, maize, and chocolate. They were cheap, versatile, and impossible to resist. Within a generation, they rewrote the menu of Europe. The old ingredients vanished. Skirret, Alexander's, even simple parsnips faded from daily use. The pottage pot cooled. The constant stew gave way to the roast. Historians call it the quiet revolution of the table. And yet, fragments survived. In 1999, archaeologists excavating a manor in Norfolk found charred remains of barley bread baked with herbs, a direct link to 17th-century kitchens. Food historians testing the recipe discovered a surprisingly modern flavor: nutty, slightly sweet, rich with rosemary. Elsewhere, a chef in Devon revived skirret from heirloom seeds, describing it as the missing link between parsnip and sugar cane. Each bite was a whisper from 4 centuries ago. The controversy? Not everyone welcomed the rediscovery. Some chefs called these ingredients gimmicks, a nostalgic fantasy. But others argued that forgetting them was cultural amnesia. Because if food tells the story of civilization, erasing flavors is like tearing pages from history. Skirret isn't just a root. It's a record of resilience. It survived invasions, climate shifts, and centuries of disinterest, quietly waiting in monastery gardens until someone cared to taste it again. And there's something poetic about that. These forgotten recipes remind us that progress isn't always improvement. Our ancestors worked with what they had and found abundance in limitation. When Margaret stirred her pottage, she wasn't chasing perfection. She was feeding family, neighbors, strangers. The pot never emptied, just changed. A living meal, evolving day by day, like culture itself. So what would happen if we tried to live by their rules today? No imported fruit, no sugar, no coffee or chocolate to keep us awake at midnight. We'd relearn the rhythm of the seasons, waiting for spring greens, preserving autumn's roots, sharing winter's bread. We'd talk more, waste less, taste more. Because the slower you cook, the more you notice. Maybe that's the lesson hidden in the ashes of those old kitchens. The future of food might still lie in its past. We end where we began, at the table. The candles burn low. The bowl is simple, the flavors ancient, the story endless. Thank you for joining me on Ancient Ways. If you believe forgotten foods still have something to teach us, subscribe and come back next week, where we'll step into the gardens of monks who saved Europe's seeds.